G'day guys, Sim here, and welcome to another League Racing video. Yep, I'm trying to get these videos out as quickly as possible. I know I got really far behind with them. The week off in between sort of threw me off a little bit. But yeah, we're back at it with another one. This one is AFR Tier 2 around Baku. And not gonna lie, this race was pretty insane. Some really close racing. Probably one of the best races of the season so far, if I'm being honest. But yeah, our first lap wasn't brilliant. We set a 39.2. What did we set? A 39 something. Yeah, 39.2, and then improving on that by a large amount on our next lap to a 38.4. So I was very happy with that lap, but I wanted to, just push myself a bit more. Currently on provisional pole position, but I wanted to see if I could improve on that. So going through turn 1, braking nice and late, going up on our previous best lap by about a couple of hundredths, so a little bit of gain. Not getting the best run through turn 2. I think we lost a little bit of time on exit there. Definitely could have been a lot better exit than what we ended up with, but still up on our previous time, so not too bad. But unfortunately through the next couple of corners we don't get the greatest run. I believe we do still manage to just be up on our previous best by the end of sector 1, but definitely more time could have been made up through that section. So here, coming up now into the most difficult part of the track, the right-hander here, and then leading into the castle section. Trying to keep it really tight to the apex there, get as much rotation through the car as possible, and trying to carry as much speed through the castle section as we possibly can, but not getting as good a run through there, and losing the back end quite a bit out of the final section there, and being down on our time by quite a significant margin now. Coming through here now, absolutely mounting the curb there, taking it as though it was a V8 supercar. Trying to gain as much time as possible through there, not quite managing though. Getting a far better exit here though than our previous laps onto the back straight, and you'll see we are closing in back on our previous lap. But as we come into the line, you'll see unfortunately it wasn't quite enough to be able to improve on our previous lap, so unfortunately couldn't do any better than what we did previously, and just coming up short by 2 hundredths there. So definitely more time in the lap, but it was still enough to secure pole position, thankfully, ready for the race. So wasn't the best lap I could have pulled off, but definitely enough to secure pole position, which is what I was really looking for. Qualifying really hasn't been a real big issue for me this season so far, but good to keep that up for the rest of the season. But now coming on to the start of the race, we're going for a one-stop soft to hard, I believe, but 5 red lights, and away we go, and we get a brilliant start. And Artemis, as you can see, absolutely falling down the field there. I believe he completely missed the start there, and the car went into anti-stall, which was really unfortunate. But you can see the battle for second and third there between Trin and Combat. And they actually make contact here into turn 2. Trin ended up with damage. You'll see we've already got ourselves a nearly 1.5 second gap. So at this stage, this is pretty much the dream start. Smitty there moving up into 3rd position as well. So really looking good for us at this stage. Just doing our best to keep it clean through these first few laps. And now nearly a 2-second gap. So that damage that Trin's managed to get in that incident with Combat really helping us out now to open up the gap to the rest of the field. Trin absolutely parking the bus to defend his position from anyone behind. That's really benefiting us right now as we go through the castle section. Now nearly a 2.5 second gap, sorry. So pace at this moment, it's hard to tell, but it seems like to me it felt like it was really good. I hadn't done a lot of practice leading into the race, but not even though like Trin had damage, I felt like the pace was rather good to still be able to pull the gap out as quickly as we were at this stage. And coming through this final corner now, not a great exit, and you'll see Trin actually gained a little bit up on us there. So still a couple of areas of the track that I had to work on through this race, but opening signs of the race were looking rather good. So yeah, good little boost to the confidence at the start of the race. And you'll see though, as we cross the line now, setting on the fastest lap, obviously being the first lap of the race, Smitty actually does manage to get past Trin there on the straight with the slipstream there and probably a bit of overtake and stuff. Coming on to lap 2 now, purple first sector and purple middle, obviously. And Smitty has caught back up to us, a 1.7 second gap, so our pace sort of, you know, it wasn't bad, but there was definitely more pace to be found. Although the soft tyres are something that I have struggled on this game so far. As the safety car actually comes out, and you'll see, we go to consider pitting now, and then just back out of it. And you'll see, if we have a look at the minimap, there's actually a lot of cars that decided to go into the pits, and at this point I was getting serious flashbacks to Zandvoort earlier in the season where I'd made the mistake of not pitting under the safety car. So I was really worried that that was a missed opportunity, but now coming onto the restart, we get a really good restart there. Getting a lovely gap on Smitty there well before turn 1, so really no pressure on us into turn 1 at all. Probably the dream restart, and Stars as well. I don't know if you noticed, but he started quite a way down in the field from qualifying. He actually had some internet issues, and he's back up to third position now, so brilliant job by him with the strategy at this point. But a long way to go still in this race. We're trying to open that gap back up to Smitty now. And it's nearly a full second as we go towards the end of the first sector now. But we are using quite a bit of fuel to try and pull that gap out. So really, although I thought the pace was there, it is sort of lacking a bit during this stint. There's definitely more pace to be found at the moment. Sort of just having to push a bit harder than I would like to open or consolidate any sort of gaps, as we nearly lose the back end there going into the castle section. So, you know, we're under a bit of pressure there, and that mistake really cost us. You can see Smitty's closed into within half a second, but on this lap, Smitty actually pits. So I was thinking, okay, we really got to push on this lap. And you'll see, as we come into the pits now, we managed to pull out another second on Stars on the hards, so the softs still had a little bit more pace than the hard tyres at that stage, so I wasn't too worried about the undercut. As Combat sets the fastest lap on a set of mediums, so Combat really showing a bit of pace at the moment. But as we get ready to come out of the pit lane now, you can see Smitty coming up on the timing boards. And as we exit the pit lane now, we just managed to get out in front of him. But it's not done here. My tyres still haven't quite heated up. So as we come out of turn 2 here, we get an absolutely horrendous exit, and Smitty is right on the back of us. DRS enabled, I believe. We're using a lot of overtake here to try and defend the position. We hold it to the inside, but he manages to get us around, hold it around the outside there for the inside into the next corner. Goes a little bit deep, so we try and go for the switchback here, but unfortunately that means we are still on the outside for the next corner, which is not ideal, and unfortunately we're forced to back out of it. So Smitty actually did manage to get the undercut done on us, and really that was not ideal for where we were in this race with the traffic in front of us. I wanted to be in front, controlling the pace and passing the traffic that was on the alternate strategy. Sorry, I wanted to be running my own race and doing that at my own pace, but now by being stuck behind Smitty, we're forced to try and follow him through as best as we can. And as you'll see here, a few laps I believe the following lap actually, Smitty has caught up to Saxer on the hards, got DRS on him. We have DRS on them too, but we're way too far back to be able to go for a move into turn 1, and you'll see we actually really get held up behind Saxer as we close into the back of him now. We will indeed have DRS on him through the back straight here. But you'll see, we're nowhere near close enough to make a move into the next turn either, so this is going to become really problematic for us now. And as you'll see, through this next set of corners, the speed that we have over Saxer right now, it's sort of it was a little bit infuriating, if I'm honest. Like, obviously I couldn't go for a dive down the inside or anything in any of these corners, like that's pretty much suicidal for the race, but you'll see the gap that Smitty is pulling over us. It's absolutely insane, and by the time we finally get the opportunity to make the move at the end of that next lap, Smitty's already pulled 2 seconds over us, so we really lost a lot of time being stuck behind Saxa there. Obviously nothing we could really do about that, just the timings of when we came up to certain people in the race, but yeah, not exactly ideal for our race at that point, and now we've got a lot of ground to make up in the next few laps if we have any thoughts of winning this race. So over the next few laps, it was just all about consistency, setting low 44s lap after lap, and actually a 43.8 there, I believe, on that lap. So really a decent amount of pace now on these harder compound tyres, sort of fairly consistently around the same mark, and closing, or not really closing in, but holding that 2 second gap. So Smitty also pushing really hard at the moment for really consistent laps. We actually set a purple first sector on the previous lap there, so still quite a bit of pace there. See, we're closing in, or Combat actually pitting now, so that moves us up to, I believe, 4th place. So really slowly moving up to the field as everything sorts itself out with the alternate strategies, but yeah, still being really consistent, not being outside of a half second of our previous best lap on any of these laps. And now you'll see within 1.3 seconds of Smitty, you'll see behind as well, Trin has actually pit for the medium tyre, is closed in and set the fastest lap now, so a little bit of pressure from behind, and you'll see that's playing on my mind a bit. We get a horrendous run through the castle section there, and a 1.3 second gap to Smitty goes all the way back out to a nearly 2 second gap, so really costly error there by us, and made it a lot more difficult for us. I believe at this point we were also talking strategy about whether to let Trin through, given I was starting to seem to struggle with pace. But then on the next lap, I set a personal best lap, so all of a sudden my pace was really inconsistent, and on lap 21, closing into nearly 1.5 seconds behind Smitty, trying to push a little bit too hard, getting wide on the curb, losing the back end, almost catching it, and spinning out into the wall and completely damaging my wing, almost resetting the track, which would have been a penalty, but thankfully not doing that, and now that's our chance of a win just gone out the window from making a costly mistake. So, yeah, not great, but I couldn't allow myself to panic. I just had to get in the pits quickly, jump on a fresh set of softs, and just try and make up as much ground and just salvage what I could from this race. So, heading into the pits now, and you'll see the car's just going past us now. Psycho, Pondon very shortly as well. Really not far behind us. Stars as well. Unfortunately, Stars did disconnect during this race, so he was ghosted at this point. But also Saxa going past us as well, so all the way back now down to 9th place in this race from a potential podium position. So a lot of ground to be made up, and I believe at this point about a 8 or 9 second gap to Pondon in 6th place, I believe. But as we get to the end of that lap, we're right on the back of Saxa and Stars' AI in front of us, so really pushing hard here, trying to make up as much ground as possible. Yeah, there's the frustration that I was having at this point in the race. Like, I just had to get moves done as much as possible, so around the outside of Saxa here, just on the absolute limit of the grip there, and as we get past him, you'll see it's a 7.8 second lead to Pondon in front. So with 3 or nearly 4 laps to go, that gap was really not looking possible for me at all, but I just had to keep pushing and try and see what I could do, knowing I was on fresh soft compound tyres, and Pondon was on now probably 20 or so lap old hards. I just had to push as hard as I could, as we set a purple first sector here, and we're actually going to stay on board for the rest of this lap, just because I believe this was the fastest lap of the race. So keeping it nice and tight through that right-hander, absolutely nailing the castle section here, carrying a ridiculous amount of speed through there, cutting that curb as much as we possibly could without getting a warning. And you'll see, we're already within 6 seconds of Pondon just in that first half of the lap. So the pace at this point is absolutely insane, and we have every possibility of catching Pondon towards the end of this race now. So you can see now I am absolutely pushing now, using almost all of my overtake on this lap, almost all of my fuel. We're down below 0.2 of a lap of extra fuel, so really starting to run on empty, but I just knew I had to push as hard as I could to at least get the fastest lap and gain as many positions as I possibly could to salvage as many points as I could in this race. And we set a 41.4 on that lap, which was a whole 2 seconds, I believe, faster than the previous fastest lap, which was set on medium. So absolutely flying. And on these next couple of laps now, back within 3 seconds of Pondon. The next lap, back within 1.5 seconds of Pondon at the end of the 24th lap, or end of the 25th lap, sorry. So starting the final lap now. We're still not in DRS range, but I knew I had the pace to get onto the back of him before the start of the DRS straight, leading up to the end of the race. So I am really pushing now. We're going to stay on board for the entirety of this, or almost entirety of this lap here. And right here now, we are crucially within that 1 second gap. So really, really pressuring Pondon here. But at the same time as well, Trin had managed to catch up to Smitty at the front of the race. So we're going to jump across now to his point of view and just see how close he actually got to the win here. So you'll see here, leading into the final couple of corners at the end of Sector 2, just on the edge of that DRS, crucial 1 second for DRS, and through this final corner here, or final actual corner, getting a decent exit, but just not close enough, just within that 1 second, but even with DRS, it's not quite close enough to be able to pull back that gap for the win. So Trin coming ever so close to the win. Just absolutely, he was absolutely flying, but really just cost. Yeah, just needed that one more lap to get the win. But now jumping back onto our POV, coming back into the end of Sector 2 now, we are right on the back of Pondon here. Losing the back end a little bit here, but really pushing. Focusing on getting the best exit we can through this corner, using the tyres to our advantage. Pondon has a pretty bad exit there, to be fair. And we're within 0.3 of a second of him now, using all of our overtake to get right on the back of him before the DRS zone. Leaving it in rich fuel mix. He actually doesn't bother weaving to try and break the toe here. And that just gives us the perfect toe to get right up next to him. As we cross the line, we just get that position. So just managing to get that position there. And we'll switch over now to Pondon's view as well. And yeah, he was a bit disappointed in himself. But in all honesty, props to Pondon. He had an absolutely insane race, and his pace throughout that race was absolutely mad. And it was honestly just a bit unlucky that I ended up behind him and had the opportunity really to pip him on the line. But anyway, at the end of that race, Smitty getting his first win in Tier 2 actually, so absolutely insane for him. And championship standings now, we extended our lead, 131 points down to 106 to Stars. Really unfortunate for Stars with the championship and the disconnect, but yeah, just a bit unlucky for the race. But yeah, if you did enjoy, please do feel free to subscribe, really helps the channel. And go follow me on Twitch if you want to see me race live. Pushing for 500 followers over there, so definitely would really appreciate it. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed, and we might see you around some other time.